St. George.
Today is Wednesday, September 25th, and happy World Heritage Day. My name is Hannah, here with your news updates brought to you by Dixie Sun News. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced a formal impeachment inquiry into President Donald Trump. The announcement marks the most direct step taken by the House Democratic leader to embrace impeachment proceedings and is a significant escalation in the fight between House Democrats and the president. Disney announced that plant-based food options will be added to every dining location in their U.S. theme parks. More than 400 vegan dishes will be available at quick service and table service restaurants in Orlando, Florida's Walt Disney World, in early October, followed by Anaheim, California's Disneyland in spring of 2020. In local news, a small patch of ancient dinosaur tracks are found in the hillside by a St. George resident. The suspected owner of the possibly 200 million-year-old footprints is estimated to have been a small 50 to 60 pound dinosaur that was 3 feet tall at the hips, 6 feet long, and likely hunted as part of a pack. Facebook launched a dating section called Facebook Dating. It allows Facebook users to create a dating profile separate from their Facebook profile. Facebook users can personalize their profiles and link their Instagram accounts to their dating profiles. For more information, head on over to DixieSunNews.com. Thanks for listening, and for more news updates, stay tuned to Radio Dixie 91.3.
Happy September 25th, sports fans. I'm Easton Smooth with your daily sports report, brought to you by Radio Dixie 91.3. Starting out on the ice with Major League Hockey, the New York Rangers beat the New York Islanders 3-1. The Dallas Stars beat the St. Louis Blues 2-1. And the Anaheim Ducks beat the San Jose Sharks 4-1. Over to the baseball field, the Minnesota Twins beat the Detroit Tigers by a score of 4-2. Pittsburgh Pirates beat the Chicago Cubs 9-2. Tampa Bay Rays beat the New York Yankees 2-1. And the Arizona Diamondbacks beat the St. Louis Cardinals by a score of 3-2. More scores, news, highlights, and more. Tune into Radio Dixie 91.3.
Weather brought to you by 24-Hour Air Conditioning and Stephen Wade Honda Mazda.
Okay, here's your temperature forecast for September 25th. The greater Dixie area, 94 and 65. Zion National Park, 93 and 60. And for Bryan Head Village, those highs will run about 58 and those lows 40. Radio Dixie and Radio St. George, this is Dennis Mattinson.
This is Lisa Cypers-Kamen, host of Harvesting Happiness, broadcasting consciously prepared brain food, inviting you to join me on this week's show to learn about the journey from grief to healing, finding hope and encouragement in a time of loss with Dr. Gail Gross and Gary Rowe. To learn more, please visit harvestinghappinesstalkradio.com.
Harvesting Happiness, Sundays at 4 on Radio St. George 100.3. Tuacahn presents Disney's When You Wish. When You Wish takes you on a magical journey with all of your favorite Disney memories. This show follows a little girl's imagination as she discovers Moana, The Princess and the Frog, Mulan, Beauty and the Beast, Tarzan, Aladdin, Mary Poppins, and many more. Disney's When You Wish. Ticket information at tuacahn.org.
This week for Dixie Sports, on the 12th of September, the women's volleyball team will be taking on Texas Permian in the LCU Chap Classic in Lubbock, Texas at 5 p.m. Then the women's soccer team will be taking on Point Loma at Point Loma at 4:30 p.m. Then on the 13th of September, the women's volleyball team will be taking on Pittsburgh State at 5 p.m. Then the men's soccer team will be taking on Eastern New Mexico at 7:30 p.m. at Trailblazer Stadium. Then on the 14th of September, the women's volleyball team will be taking on Lubbock Christian in the LCU Champ Classic in Lubbock, Texas. Then the women's soccer team will be at Concordia Irvine at 1 p.m. And finally, on the 15th of September, the men's soccer team will be taking on Texas A&M International at 1:30 p.m. at Trailblazer Stadium. For more information on these games, please visit DixieAthletics.com and listen to Radio Dixie 91.3. The Scratch for H Club. This event is an introduction to computer science using the program language Scratch. It is for 5th through 7th graders, and it will go on from the 10th of September until the 5th of November. For more information, please visit eventbrite.com/4H. Brought to you by the STEM After School Program.
This is Dr. Robert Briggs inviting you to join me this Sunday as I share some of the best sacred music ever written.
This week on Sacred Sunday Mornings, Orchestral Hymn Classics. This Sunday at 8 a.m. and noon on Radio St. George 100.3 FM.
Made possible by contributions from listeners like you. Thank you. From Radio St. George at 100.3 FM.
This is KDXI St. George, Radio St. George at 100.3 FM. Creator of Energy Healing by Design, Nicole Ashton, a world-renowned healer and luminary whose life after death experience has allowed her the gift of empowering people around the globe to heal and grow into their true authentic space. Nicole, with her natural connection to Source, which has remained open since her return, will help you and your family find the frequency of gratitude and patient love that will assist you in awakening your soul's design. We now welcome you to Return to Consciousness with your host, Nicole.
Hello, and welcome back to Return to Consciousness, live with Nicole Ashton and April Betty. We are super excited to be back. We did play a rerun last week because we weren't able to make it in the studio. So thank you for joining in and still responding through emails. We appreciate all the love and support. Today is we are talking about chaos. Chaos to it seems like big shifts in people's lives come through the chaotic moments, through the storm. And for me, a lot of people know that I meditate constantly, and that's my guidance. But I had to go through the storms, and I still do. The storms, the chaos, the trials, the things like that I've got to experience in my life has actually brought me to who I am today. And now the meditation piece and the stillness and sitting with the monks and stuff like that and the Buddhas. Now I'm able to be at peace with the storms, and when they come, they still do. We're human. We're still having this human experience, and so they'll continue to come. But it's like through that, it's the peace through the storm, and then to kind of remember that when you're in the storm, when you're in the fire, it's hard to see the other side. It's hard to see out of it, and so. Anyways, I was really excited about this subject because I know that a lot of people are going through a lot of shifts right now, and to anything that can bring them peace or anything that we can do to assist you, you can always reach us at energyhealingbydesign.com or handshealingheart.com or our Facebook, Nicole Ashton, or April Betty on Facebook. So, what has your experience about holding the peace in the storms or the harmony?
Well, the peace for me is having so much chaos in my life, seeing what comes from it gives me peace, and it helps me to lean more into those experiences because you come out stronger in the end. So if we're not allowing ourselves to fail, if you look at sometimes we may view things as, oh, I failed, but it's not really a failure. But if you don't allow yourselves to fail, then we can't allow ourselves to grow. So we grow through a lot of, I guess you could use the word chaotic, and just getting through, losing everything to gain everything that you are or are going to become. Just like a tree will always be growing. Mm-hmm. So I look at it as a blessing when I look at all the chaotic messes that I've been a part of, that I've created, or that I am. And I just look at it like if you met me during a time of a chaotic time, your viewpoint of me might be like not as great as if you met me after that chaotic event, But if I didn't allow myself to just be in that, I wouldn't learn and grow. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't mean you shouldn't let your chaotic, I'll just use the word messes. Don't let your chaotic messes define who you are.
Yeah.
It's just a stepping stone to help you, become even greater than you really already are.
Yeah, when I'm in that space, I'll always ask. I started to. I didn't before, but I practiced that. I ask, how did I show up? Like what? Not. I don't ask why did this happen to me anymore. I'm like, what is it I'm supposed to learn from this because it's happening and there's nothing I can do to change it. So in this experience, show me the growth that needs to come from it. And, when you're in your room crying or when you're doing all this different stuff. And I do have a lot of clients that are, they say they're falling apart, air quote, falling apart due to the shifts. And even, some of my own family, my daughter-in-law, she's having a really hard time with the energetic shifts. And myself, seems like the more awake you are and some of the spiritual people, it's hitting them really, really drastic and fast. So when I was witnessing some of the stuff that's happened for me the last couple of weeks, especially getting back from Uganda and going through an emotional, you have to shed, and it took a lot longer than I thought, and it hit a couple weeks after or a week after, and shedding that emotion, you kind of want to drown it and just like shut down, and and I did, I did. But I learned a lot when I shut down. I thought, you know what, I'm just falling. I can't handle this. What am I doing? But what I discovered when I allowed myself to not feel like I'm not at 100% today, I'm not okay. And in those not okay moments, I got to sit and I got to write my experience. And I really learned the concept of why I went to Uganda and went to do, and my understanding or my view of what service is, and it is in those moments you grow. And I learned more from that from meditating. And I'm not saying don't meditate, but as you know, I meditate sometimes for like 3 days for an answer or 3 days to do a healing. If someone comes in and I need a certain energy that I need, I'll go into my room for 3 days. See, I learned some amazing stillness and energy, but deep down core issues of my own and ways to like a way of being or being in this life in harmony was literally that moment of intense emotions and fear. You're in fear in Uganda, I went through a lot of stuff. You have to smile because you're clear. You have to when you're clear across the country, but it's like it all hit me when I got home, and I'm all whoa. So, but then the stillness, it's like that pattern or like this process of going in and when you're in the storm, I didn't recognize the danger. I didn't recognize the emotional stuff. I didn't recognize me healing that many people or assisting healing that many people or holding that space was going to come home. And all of a sudden, every person I healed was in my in my energy. And I'm like, whoa, I gotta, and I'm feeling what they feel. And I had that process of shedding, but it was like a drastic, hello, we do this every day. We should be doing this maybe, or I invite you to do this every day, is shed that stuff that doesn't serve, because it really just sticks in your energy. And what do you use a practice besides meditation or stillness that helps you move through the chaotic?
Well, yeah, I do a lot of stuff, but what I wanted to share real quick is I wanted to tell the listeners, if you're listening to this, you are a world changer. And if you've been blessed with a breakthrough, then you need to share it with others. So a lot of times, if you are a world changer, which most of us are, and we tend to run from it, you need to share that with others. And so instead of hiding from yourself, just start sharing it with others and make the difference that you're meant to make. So what do I do to get through my chaotic things? Is that what you said?
Yeah, like finding harmony because I know that there's this balance that people can do. For me, I know how to meditate. I know how to connect to the Buddhas really quick. I know how to connect to the monks really quick. And so through my chaotic moment, I'll just share that I was in the middle of going to all these villages, and I've shared many times about the mantra or the chanting, the Lotus Sutra, and from Nico Hansen. and he and the Buddha monks, the Buddhas, they had chanted for me like weeks before, and then the whole time I was there, and they were like relentlessly making chanting for me to be safe. The most amazing thing is we went up in the mountains, and then we had to go in Uganda to a town that was really busy, and it wasn't the safest city ever. But we went in and we had to stay over the night because it took us too long in the mountains to make back to where we were going. Anyway, so we were in there, and I'm not kidding. There's like a toilet and a bed and a little teeny spout. And then they have all of these doors and locks. And then the window looks like it already been broken into. And I'm all, oh my goodness, and then you hear out on the street, everybody talking. And so I sat in there, and I don't know if I wasn't really scared. I was just uneasy. I'm like, how am I going to sleep? And so I started chanting in my head. And then on my phone, I had the lotus flowers chanting, the chant. And so I played it out loud for a minute, and then I just started singing it in my head. And then I kid you not, saw this in the corner of my room, which was little, but I saw like this samurai warrior. Like I opened my eyes, I'm like, whoa. And it scared the heck out of me at first because, where I was at, because I see that in my room all the time. So normally it wouldn't be that scary, but where I was at, it was. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just like got this consciousness. Like I could feel them chanting through me and making sure I was safe. And I didn't really know that they were chanting like they were until I got home. I didn't get the full effect or the full story of what they were doing. And so that to me, those practices, there's so many tools, there's so many things that you can do, and they're offered to us all the time. It's just implementing them. So when I first chanted, it was really difficult because I ran out of breath. I couldn't say the words. I was worried that I was saying them wrong or the wrong tune. And it just seemed like once I just started doing it and even humming it in my chest, literally things started happening. So I only do the one. I do the Lotus Sutra because I know it, and it's like the universal consciousness and the one heart love. You just feel it. So, but if anybody else has any suggestions, we also would love to hear from you. Energy Healing by Design, gmail.com. No, yeah, that's it. You can ask us any questions or go on energyhealingbydesign.com and ask questions on the sheet. Or then you can Facebook us too. Or leave comments below. We'd love comments. So, and we'll answer them later on, or sometimes our followers we'll answer them for you right now as you're on there. So
I think I was just trying to think of like things I do. There's lots of things that you can do, like get out in nature. But like if it's really a chaotic situation, it's just good to step back for a minute. So step back and do whatever works for you. It's a choice. There's many times I like to say I didn't engage in the chaotic stuff, but that's a lie. I've engaged and behaved poorly because whatever I just did, I had to show up that way for myself or for others. So when another chaotic event happens, then I could remember, step back, don't engage. Like it just depends on what the chaotic situation is. I like to say now that I'm 44, I handle things a little bit better than I have in the past. And when I look back, I'm grateful for exactly how it went down. Like even if I've lost friends because I've done certain things or whatever it may be, I look back and I'm like, I learned a lot. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, I learned that no reaction is a reaction. Like sometimes, you just can't. It's just not. When you go into that observing space, you're kind of like, yeah.
But my face says everything. I really can't like hide it. Like if I think that's like, wow, that's like, oh, you could just look at my face, right?
I do too. My expressions are, you can, no matter how hard I'm like, oh,
yeah,
it just happens.
Just tell.
Yeah.
But there's lots of ways. Just stepping back and thinking before reacting is always a good one. Stepping away from a situation, talking to somebody else about the situation. You could always write. You could just get out and take a fresh breath of air.
So I found that there's great growth through the chaos, and we were sharing that in the earlier piece. But when when you're going through some really, really hard times and you are having to like survive, you're having to make decisions, and then all of a sudden actually you get to, then you're just like, you move into more of a peaceful state of the decisions you make, because you're like, you know what, you can't do the true failure is not trying at all, right? And we don't have that, like, there's a meme out there somewhere that says something about mistakes, like you're given an eraser or something to rewrite your story. There's no there's no fundamental way that you have to live in your mistakes. I mean, that's old stuff. And I feel like, or I've worked as I've worked with people, it's that breath in and just allowing yourself to have that the issue or the problem, and I think somebody this weekend told me, he said, he was sharing some information with me, and he's like, take 3 days to decide. Always take 2 to 3 days to decide, because you either you jump into something that you can't get out of, or you really know that's something you're going to stay in. And it made really sense to every single day life of how we quickly respond, or we think we have to. Mm-hmm. And then we get ourselves in something that creates the chaos. So it's kind of like also proactive. Allow yourself that time to really think about what people are asking you to do or show up for. And you come in, because really that's like when the chaos starts, when you're like committing to something because you didn't pre-think about it. And now you're like, oh no, now I'm overwhelmed. Yeah. That anyways is probably my biggest moments of chaotic. Oh. And so that's been really interesting to practice, and I'm still learning.
So commitment. Yeah. For me, like if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Or if I say I'm going to do something that I realize I can't do it, I'm just going to say, I thought I could do that and I can't do it. Because I hate when people say like, yes, I'll be here, or yeah, you could count on me. And then at the end of the day, it's you, yourself, and you. And you're like, why didn't they just tell me? Yeah. Because communication, because sometimes we do commit to something and then we realize I'm in over my head, so I can't do that. But a lot of good things come. Like when I managed the orphanage the first year in Haiti, I had no idea what that looked like. I did it. But then there was a guy who wanted to take over. And instead of talking to me, he was doing it behind my back. And so long story short, it went down very ugly. But I found out what he was doing, so I stepped down. And I was communicating with him, but he thought I was someone else in text back and forth. So I knew what his plan was, so I stepped down. But what good came from it is by stepping away, not by choice, but how it happened, it opened up the doors to so many things in the community that I would have never had the opportunity to do. So it was very, very, very chaotic on every level, with the sponsors for the kids, with the change in management, for them not communicating with me. But I did create a nonprofit prior to that because of this guy who ended up taking over, because him and his friend kept pushing me. You have to get a nonprofit. You have to do this. And I was so irritated and angry at the time, like, why? No, I don't want to do this. But looking back, I'm grateful exactly how it went down. And a lot of people's feelings were hurt or whatnot. But at the end of the day, so much good came from that mess. And it was chaotic at the time. But I'm grateful for it.
The most amazing thing for us as a conscious human is to know when to also step away from someone else's experience. So say someone else is going through chaos and they need that experience. And sometimes we, especially family members, we want to step in and we want to take it from them. We want to fix it. But it doesn't allow them to grow. And a lot of times, actually all the time, they're doing something. The behaviors in their life is on purpose so that they can grow. And I found that myself doing that. And my mom's done that for me a lot, because she doesn't, that all of I've been through, there's sometimes she wants to just make it up so I don't have to go through anything else. And then I see it causing her chaos. So I've seen both sides of the spectrum right now as I'm observing my relationships with people and the people's relationships with me. And that really is like, when are you? And I invite all you beautiful people out there, is like, when are you interfering with someone else's experience? When when you're taking on somebody else's chaos, when you're taking on their problems, not only does it not allow them to grow, but like experience, it also brings it back because they didn't learn in that experience, they didn't learn what they were supposed to. So, I feel like with this, the whole bunch of people that I've been seeing is that I invite you to really inventory yourself, how you're showing up, how people are showing up for you, are you, the giving and the receiving. That internal love is that for your highest good, for their highest good. And then write this gratitude list, because a lot of people are just so intertwined or entangled in each other's stuff that they don't even know how their own self feels to even make a conscious decision, and so there's a lot of confusion. And I don't speak for everybody. I speak for the clients that I've seen and family members, and in some cases myself. And the different stages, or there's different ideas of chaos too. Like my chaos looks different than your chaos, and chaos doesn't mean that you have to be like really in the streets and sick, and there's not an identity to it. It means that there's something in your life that is not harmonious, and it causes you to overeat, depression, anxiety, like all these different things that we're working with right now. That is a result of a chaotic life. And so you're like, okay, well, through this chaos, what am I going to do? I'm getting depressed. Hey, maybe I can go outside and get some sunshine and eat some vegetables. And, and sometimes you have to push yourself to move through the chaos. And then on the other side of the storm, you're like, holy snap, that's all I had to do the whole time.
Yeah, that's true.
You might hear that music or you might not. I don't know. But I won't do that again.
You said something that reminded me of something I heard earlier. And this is what it was. It goes to like what you're saying. By saying yes to some things, you take away from someone else serving their purpose. Saying no becomes easy by asking yourself, is this serving my purpose? And if it's not, then you say no. So like what you were saying about other people, and we could step back from what they're going through and whatever. I really like that. And when you said that, it reminded me of that I heard earlier, because I like to listen to podcasts throughout the day if I'm painting or whatever, if I have time to listen. And so I heard that and I was like, I really like that. It'll make saying no to certain things easier if you just ask yourself, is this serving my purpose? And if it's not, then you say no. And then they get to have that experience without you robbing them of it, so to speak.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Oh, and one other thing you said about depression. Depression is a result of living in the past. I like that. You didn't say that, but you were talking about depression. It made me think, because we were thinking a thought in the past or how that should have ended up, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, and anxiety is projecting the future. And the most interesting thing is I live an eventful lifestyle. Like I'm always discovering, and I'm always on the go, and I pretty much live on the edge all the time. And I found that no matter how much I plan it out, it doesn't go that way anyways. And so it's like not having an expectation of what the next step looks like right now. Yeah. Not that you don't make goals or anything, but like it feels like that the earth is moving so much. People are moving in such different directions. It's like, have your goals. That's not what I mean by it. But like when stuff happens, you're like, wow. Either it's really amazing or you're like, oh, that happened. Or I found a way to just to like be okay with how things are going, because everybody that I talk to, or everybody that I've traveled around the world and had these like meetings with all these people they're just from all over the place, and it's like everywhere is just having this kind of pause moment where you're observing, going, our perceptions are so different. How about we get along? There's a lot of people that are thinking that too. See, the positive is a lot of people are going through the chaos, but a lot of people are also pausing to say, hey, I want to really figure this out. And that's very, very amazing.
Yeah. Well, if we stop thinking long enough so our hearts could lead us, we'll all be in a better place.
Yeah.
Really, we all overthink. You try and play something out. Like, well, some things are good playing the tape all the way out. So it depends on what it is. But yeah, we think too much.
Okay. This is April and Nicole Ashton. We will be back in just a minute for the second half of Return to Consciousness Live with Nicole and April.
Hey there, you with the stars in your eyes.
Next on Footlight Parade, 1954 on stage. The best of the year, including Peter Pan, The Golden Apple, and The Pajama Game. I'm Bill Rudman, inviting you to join me each week right here as we celebrate sounds of the American musical.
Footlight Parade, Sunday evenings at 8 on Radio St. George 100.3.
Affogato Gourmet Coffee, a fine sponsor of DSU Radio. Affogato Gourmet Coffee offers gourmet coffee, smoothies, pastries, and keto-friendly offerings. Affogato Coffee with live music on Sundays, coffee, hot chocolate, great company, and a funky environment. Behind tropical smoothies on 10th East and Red Hills Parkway. Affogato Gourmet Coffee.
Why do we celebrate Halloween? How did Halloween get started? Does everyone celebrate it the same way?
If you find yourself asking these questions every year when Halloween rolls around, there's a course just for you this semester. Dr. Jeff Ewell is teaching a course all about Halloween every Tuesday and Thursday from 10:30 to 11:45 in the morning. If you want to know why Halloween got started, why we celebrate it, and how different cultures across North America celebrate it, this course is for you.
This week for Dixie Sports, on the 12th of September, the women's volleyball team will be taking on Texas Permian in the LCU Chap Classic in Lubbock, Texas at 5 p.m. Then the women's soccer team will be taking on Point Loma at Point Loma at 4:30 p.m. Then on the 13th of September, the women's volleyball team will be taking on Pittsburgh State at 5 p.m. Then the men's soccer team will be taking on Eastern New Mexico at 7:30 p.m. at Trailblazer Stadium. Then on the 14th of September, the women's volleyball team will be taking on Lubbock Christian in the LCU Champ Classic in Lubbock, Texas. Then the women's soccer team will be at Concordia Irvine at 1 p.m. And finally, on the 15th of September, the men's soccer team will be taking on Texas A&M International at 1:30 p.m. at Trailblazer Stadium. For more information on these games, please visit DixieAthletics.com and listen to Radio Dixie 91.3.
On Wednesday, October 2nd, join the LEGO League team at the LEGO Robotics Gyro Sensor Clinic from 5:15 to 6:30 in the evening. This skill-building workshop is for first LEGO League team members. 2 representatives from each team and a coach are invited to participate in this free clinic. Students will learn the tips and tricks to effectively utilize gyro sensors on their EV3 robots.
From KUER News in Salt Lake City, this is Radio West. I'm Doug Fabrizio. Not everyone likes puns. Some of us are just annoyed by them because they can be cheesy and not always all that funny, but journalist James Geary loves them because they're the perfect way of illustrating what wit is. Geary has a book that explores not only what wit is, but how it works. Take a pun. Geary says to make one work, you have to hold in your mind 2 different ideas about the same thing at the same time. So not only do you have to be clever, but you have to be engaged. You have to be paying attention. And that is why he thinks we need wit. James Geary is joining us today to take us through the dimensions of wit in his really witty book called Wit's End. Join us.
Radio West with Doug Fabrizio. Saturdays at 6 and Sundays at 3 on Radio St. George 100.3 FM.
This is Hannah with your Radio Dixie calendar for Wednesday, September 25th. From 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m., there's $2 hamburgers at the Gardner Plaza. From 3 to 4 p.m., there is an LGBTQ club meeting in the Holland Building, room 477. And from 7 to 10 p.m., there's a movie on the lawn, Crazy Rich Asians, by the Education Building. And that's your calendar on Radio Dixie 91.3.
Participate in the conversation. 435-879-4100. We are Radio St. George 100.3 FM.
You're listening to Radio St. George 100.3 FM. We now welcome you back to Return to Consciousness with your host, Nicole.
Hello, and welcome back to Return to Consciousness live with Nicole, Ashton, and April Betty. I want to thank everybody for listening. It's so amazing to have this experience to grow. As those who have known that this was just like a kind of for me to jump outside of the box, and I knew that I was going to be speaking, and I knew all this stuff was coming for me. So I asked Spirit to like assist me in using my voice, and even I get scared out there sometimes. and I had these big events coming up, and then Sean Denovan from the radio station here asked if I wanted to be on the radio again, or I asked him, I don't remember. And then he said, hey, you got to do the board and everything by yourself. And I wasn't going to do it. And so I feel like this experience here is showing how people to be experiencers, share your story, let people jump outside that comfort zone, because it could do magnificent things. We get emails and we get responses that people are just absolutely love our silliness. And sometimes we know what we're saying, and sometimes we have a really good idea of what the show's going to be, and it completely goes a different way. And, we're just sharing so that people can open up and really know that there's alternative works. There's this energy. There's this community that's full of unconditional love and light. And there's so many different groups here that are just willing and open to assist people in their spiritual journeys and their addiction, their enlightenment. And so you are always welcome to call in the radio and ask questions, or send us questions on energyhealingbydesign.com or handshealinghearts.com. And the number here is 435-879-4100. And throughout the rest of the show that we'll take calls if you're feeling brave. If not, then email me and we'll answer your questions online. Also, I'm going to be putting together, look for this, once a week I'll be doing the Q&As. So if you have a healing question or anything like that, you can go live with Nicole and April. It still says live with Nicole right now, but we'll change it in 1 month. Anyways, it's not working through Facebook, but it will. And really do either have healing questions or activation questions or anything. We'll just answer them live, and I'm going to be in maybe. I just made that up right now, brought you in on it. I'm sorry. That's what I do.
I love questions.
Okay.
I genuinely love questions. And yeah, I had a question I won't even go into it, but some friends come and visit me, and she's like, she wanted to ask me a question, but she seemed hesitant. And then I was like, oh, please ask me. I love questions. But I came up with a great question for her, so I can't wait till I see her again. Questions are good. So I love questions. And if I don't know the answer, then maybe you do, or someone else. It's okay.
And when you ask them out loud, or you ask them live, then other people are either trying to find out how to ask the question, or they just don't dare. And so it just triggers a ripple effect of amazingness. So the second half, we're going to go ahead and go into a meditation, and how that works is I channel the energy that is coming through at this time. And so what I work with is the white light, the divine white light, where I died. And when I died, I went to this beautiful, amazing light that is so full of unfailing love and peace and joy and forgiveness. Well, there's really no reason for forgiveness, because that light does not judge. It's the most merciful light ever. And I got to experience it for 10 minutes, 11 years ago now. And so I connect there, and I bring them, I witness the energies moving through the cosmos, or the above our heads, moves through the body. And there's these chakras inside your body, they're energy wells, and each one of them will be cleared and cleansed as the energy moves through your body. It'll move down into the earth and back up. So I invite you to sit back, relax, and close your eyes unless you're driving. Then you can re-listen to this later. Energy knows no time or distance. It will show up exactly when you're ready. So I invite you to sit back, relax. Today we're going to really work it with joy. Review in your mind when you experienced joy. Something that just happened. It's like unconditional love in motion. Joy just happens. As you go there, imagine this white light within your heart. Beautiful white light just beating. Boom. This is beautiful heartbeat of joy, and it's swirling and swirling. This is your experience. Create it amazing. And as this is happening, like a waterfall, witness it go up the top of your head, out the top of your head, back down the core of your body, and to your chakra, which is called the root chakra. It's in the pelvic area. Imagine this white light just swirling and swirling, moving back up your body, clearing and cleansing each one of the energy centers, the chakras, these wheels of light that move through your body. And when they are cleared and cleansed and aligned to your soul's design, your perfect health of your body emanates. And in the heart, as this pure light is just swirling around, celebrating life, bringing you into that innocent, pure love, that childlike magnificence. Imagine this white light shining through every cell of your body, moving through every organ of your body, moving through the blood, the bone, and clearing anything that doesn't serve you. And as this process is happening, breathe through your nose. Breathe that white light, that divine white light of pure love through your lungs and out your mouth. Breathe out anything that doesn't serve you. Let it go. Breathe back in the white light. And breathe that white light out around your auric field, this energy field that is full of delight, just swirling around and around. You're going to breathe the white light in, then you're going to move it out to the front and to the back, to the left, to the right, above and below. And push that out as far as it's comfortable for you. And imagine the white light moving through you like a DNA strand, going right down into the heart core of Mother Earth. And breathe up that love. And in this cycle of connecting you to everything above and everything below, remember, everything that you send down to Mother Earth is multiplied by 10. So cultivate that love, cultivate that joy right within inside of your heart and send it down to Mother Earth. And breathe that up like a straw right through your feet, right through your entire body, hitting every energy center, clearing and cleansing them and vitalizing them to your highest self. Up through your body, out the top of your head, and it's just swirling and swirling around you, reminding you you are created in unconditional love, a spark of light, and in greatness. Go be that. And then you can witness a tree trunk moving up the bottom of your feet. Put your feet in some like squishy sand, maybe some rocks, really ground you into this earth, and as you move back into this lovely space, imagine that was like 5 minutes. And when I get feedback on this, it's like people, all of a sudden they have that gap. When you're in that gap, that's when consciousness really speaks to you, because you're able to really bring through your divine self, your true expression of you, and without the barriers of the world. And the barriers of the world are there. I almost checked out. Did you see that? I had to snap myself back into my body. Sometimes that happens.
Well, it worked.
Yeah, that was great. I love that. But when life happens and it still doesn't mean everything's going to go away. But when you are able just to move through it and let it go and it doesn't stick to you, it becomes less heavy. It becomes less heavy. And then also you're not resisting the answers anymore. So clarity seems to happen faster. And I'm really excited for the second half because I should have done that maybe in the beginning or before I got on because I'm like on fire now.
Yes.
I guess.
That's good. Oh, you know what it made me think of? When you are going through some chaotic stuff, grounding. Like you could quickly just close your eyes and pretend all the tree trunks are coming up through your legs or whatever grounding works for you. Grounding really, really helps you get back into yourself to handle something a little bit better.
It does, and your red chakra, which is your root chakra, which is in the pelvic area, is your grounding chakra. And when it is off balance, your life feels off balance. That's when depression sets in because it really sets the speed or the course for your upper chakras. And even though they have their own speed and they go at their own pace, they all know they're in sync, they're in harmony, just like the universe is. And so when that foundation, that fundamental ray that you are is grounded, just like my dad's a master electrician in alignment. And so I learned about electricity since I was little. And when you're a conduit and you're this conductor and you're this vessel, you have to ground or you get shocked. I watched my dad fly off poles because he wasn't, so imagine that. My dad, I'm watching him when I'm little and he didn't ground and he shoots off a pole and he's all, literally his hair was standing up and he was burned. And okay, it's because the energy went all over. You couldn't control it anymore. He learned not to do that. So now though, when I'm watching people's energy, it reminds me of when my dad did that. And he did do it more than once, but he's maybe a quick learner like I am. We're like, just one more time, let me feel that. But then I see that with people when they're not grounded, their energy's going all over, good or negative, or good or bad, or whatever that looks like. But when you're in a constant spin, because that's our gravity, that's our energy field, our gravity, that's how we're here. When it's spinning out all over everybody, that's being responsible. That's like practice being responsible for your energy too.
Yeah.
I must still be connected because I can't make a full word. I'm trying.
It was a good word.
Okay. Thank you for the support.
You're welcome. Yeah, grounding is very important, more than we realize. Yep.
Yeah. Well, when I was first starting the work from after when I crossed over and I came back and I was just in the light. I didn't know how to ground. I was still seeing the spirits. I couldn't make form. I was just really lost in this world. I had to learn to ground that frequency because to completely embody your soul, your energy, the pieces of you, to completely embody that, they have to have somewhere to go. You have to ground that energy. And I learned this. My friend Rita Carey taught me this. We went up to Sundance. She came in from Washington, D.C., and she's like, we decided to go and the trams. We decided to go up on the trams. And I was still really just out there. I'm talking about biophotons. I'm talking about my experience in a big way because it was the first time I started sharing my story at all. And so I'm just talking, and I'm like so happy about sharing. But when I share, I really am in the light. I'm really up there. I can't really focus on anything else. So we're walking through the Sundance and we go up on the tram and I'm trying to do the best I can, like communication wise. And I was just kind of listening to her and she looks at me, she goes, you need a ground. And she's a grounder. So she grabs my feet and she's like, take your shoes off. And she grounds me. And it's really the first time that I've been grounded since I came back because no one really knew to teach me that. Because no one really knew what was going on with me. And so I could feel this wave of my light went, like, I finally had a direct access point or a direct altering current. Instead of altering current, it was what's the one? I should know this. Anyways, I had the direct current that I was like, holy snap, that goes right to earth. And I could feel it. And I actually started making sense and seeing more forms. And anyways, But what she taught me is she said most people live outside of their body 80% of the time. And that's when negative emotions or negative attachments or anything can stick to you. So it's very important to stay grounded in your body. What she taught me is to take a red tube of light or whatever comes up for you, close your eyes, and maybe a color, silver, gold. I don't know. People have had a lot of different colors, and none's right or wrong. It's the one that works for you. Mm-hmm. And she said that she had me run it down my spine and out my tailbone and right into the core of Mother Earth. And I kept practicing that, and it worked. Mm-hmm. It was like finally my energy had a place to go instead of just all over. Yeah. Wow. And then I became less drained because I couldn't go shopping, or I couldn't do anything like that because I become so drained, because everywhere I go, I heal. It's my energy just does that. And so I learned to control that more. I still don't know, I still do that, but it's not as exhausting because of the grounding. So
that's good. I like that she taught you that.
Yeah. And I was really, it was 2015, I think it was. So I was still really new to the work. I just barely went to the Parliament of World Religions, and I barely figured out some, started learning my gifts and then just started healing. And so I didn't understand a lot that she was talking about. And so I flew to Washington, D.C., and I worked with I think the first time I worked with her mom, she had, she needed oxygen. And so she started working with me, and her oxygen went off, and then she started walking and she started doing better. And then second time I worked with some a doctor of theology, and he really taught me a lot of stuff too. So I started learning the gifts, and I started learning the energy, because, theology has so many different concepts that right in the beginning of learning the gifts, I got to learn all of this array of ideas, and I got to learn that they all have bits of truth. And it's just like whatever fits for that person. And it's all in the perception, and it's all what your energy matches. And so I got to learn that cooperation in energies. And the one thing is grounding. I'm glad you brought that up. Must have been a good subject for me to go off on, because I did.
And it was good. Yeah. I like that. I'm going to try that one, putting the light through you and then out your tailbone. Because, so let me ask you, this sounds weird, but when it would go out your tailbone, did it anchor you into the ground?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Then also, when you go into Mother Earth's heart core, you remember that she has the resonant heartbeat that we do. And so it would pump it. I felt like this wave started happening that didn't happen before.
So you do red because, I know you could do any color, but would you do red because that's the color of Mother Earth's heart? Is that what you're saying?
I do red because I need grounding. I need grounding in my root chakra.
Okay.
And I need to be anchored down, because otherwise I can sit in my room for like I did. 18 months trying to walk and talk. I was so used to being in that light, and then when I couldn't make sense of stuff, I took another 6 months of just being. I can check out really easily, and I had to learn that I have to do that. Airplane ride for me 30 hours was nothing, because I was able to do that, so, which is a good and bad thing. But I did learn that you cannot embody your gifts and process your gifts and share them in a way that people would understand if you're not sharing them through this reality. So when I was sharing with the angels, and I was sharing with consciousness, and I was sharing what Creator said, and I was sharing all this stuff, people were feeling amazing and getting healed, but they weren't learning.
Right.
And so I had to learn. I'm like, you know what? Until I can teach and project it out in a way that they understand and they feel the love and they find their gifts, then I'm really not useful.
True.
And so I learned the grounding is the most important thing.
Yeah. I like how little kids, they could ground pretty easy, especially when they hug trees. It was cute. The other day, one of my grandkids, they actually came and asked me if they could hug a tree. Isn't that so funny? Because at one of the parks, I'll be like, all right, go run to that tree and hug that tree. We'll play games like that. They're like, can I hug that tree? Of course you could hug that tree. I love hugging trees. You could even kiss a tree.
In the beginning, I told my mom she needed a ground. We went to this big antique store, And Anthony's downtown, Salt Lake City, and it's big and it is full of old stuff, and she needed ground, and she was new to this. And I said, you go outside of Anthony's, it's right next to the biggest street in Salt Lake. And I'm like, Mom, you need a ground, so you need to hug a tree. Well, she's all hugging it, like right in the next to the road. And I go and touch the branch, and she's like, why don't you hug it? And I'm like, Mom, I just meant to share the energy with the tree. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm right by the side of the road. I'm like, oops. It was cute though.
I bet that was cute.
It was. So, sometimes you can hug a tree, but if you feel like, if you're just, sometimes I'll work on clients and I can feel it moving through me. And so I'll just go and hold a limb or like do something simple. But so the different ideas of hugging trees too doesn't mean that you're pulling a superstar.
Yeah, I literally, when I hug it. I go in for the hug and the leg wrap around on that tree. But lucky tree. Just kidding.
Exactly. It's like, woo, it's my day. You should take on more negative energy and show up.
You're so funny. But you could also just taking off your shoes to filling the ground, filling the grass, filling the dirt, filling the sand, the water, whatever you're in.
Yeah, and we emanate carbon dioxide when we have a negative gas, which
yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
Sorry,
you think
when you have a negative energy moving off of you,
negative air flow.
Anyways, and so the trees love carbon dioxide, and that I was taught by Jim Cox, the doctor of theology, that I spent some time in Washington D.C. with.
Are you saying the trees like the negative?
They do. They because we emanate some kind. This is what I learned when I was working with or studying with the doctor of theology. He said that we emanate carbon dioxide, and that's like the trees love it, and they transmute it into air, oxygen.
Oh,
so there's this relationship that we have with nature that's real. I mean, it's consciously, if you sit with it, you're like, wow. We all have this divine purpose. We all have this divine plan, and this design to assist each other. But for some reason, our brains kick in.
I didn't
and we
know
separate.
they liked it.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. So literally, take your crap to that tree.
Yeah, it's not
your mental crap.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, my neighbor that works next to me, she's a craniosacral. She said that she used to work at the Huntsman Center. She would work with cancer, and there was this tree outside that she would go. And she would put the energy into the tree because she started getting sick. And then what happened is the tree died.
Oh, no.
So that's how real it is. So,
I mean, sad.
That's how much, like the limb where she kept touching it. So she said she went and found a stronger spruce or something. She found a tree that had a stronger system, but she actually went and looked for one because she knew it made her feel better. And so anyways, it was an amazing story. I am Nicole Ashton. You can reach me at energyhealingbydesign.com and April Betty at handshealingheart.com. Do you want to tell a little bit about your next trip really quick? Yeah, about 30 seconds.
Yep. It's in November 1st to the 8th. If you go on handshealinghearts.com, there is a website with trip information, or you could call me 702-686-7056. And if you need a realtor in Southern Utah, I'd love to sell you a house.
And I'm seeing clients in St. George, Utah. You can make an appointment at energyhealingbydesign.com. And I'm also seeing them in Draper. You can still make the appointment, but put what city that you are going to be seen in, and I'll have the dates put up. Thank you, and have the most amazing week, and we'll see you next week.
You've been listening to Return to Consciousness with your host, Nicole Ashton, creator of Energy Healing by Design, a world-renowned healer and luminary whose life-after-death experience has allowed her the gift of empowering people around the globe to heal and grow in their true authentic space. For audio and or video of this, go to Facebook or YouTube, Podbean or Spotify, and search